record. Awesome. So hello, everyone. My name is Teddy Tomeo. I'm the New York State lead educator for NOFA-New York. I've been with NOFA for about 3 years now, and focus on the education side of organic. I'm located on Long Island. I have my own little 2-acre organic farm that I'm starting up this year. And I'm really excited to jump into this topic where we run through organic certification with NOFA-New York. And then Melissa Phillips of the Real Organic Project will run through the Real Organic Project certification. So Melissa, if you want to introduce yourself first before we hop in.
Sure, thank you. I am Melissa Phillips. I am the regional organizer for the Northeast for Real Organic Project. I started with the Real Organic Project last April and had the pleasure of inspecting farms throughout the Northeast. I am also a farmer. I started Hidden Acre Farm in 2019 with my husband, and where we grow vegetables and flowers and are certified organic and real organic, and have 3 weekend farmers markets and a crew of 7 folks on the farm and about 4 helping us out with markets as well. Back to you, Teddy.
Great. So we're going to start with enhancing your farm's profitability with certification. So first question is, why organic certification? And when I look at organic certification, the main thing that I'm looking for that we need in our food system is improved transparency. So organic certification helps ensure that your farm or product meets a set standard for farming and food production. Those standards are clearly state your farming methods and show that your practices have been verified. And through these methods, they also help to avoid misleading claims so that whether someone is coming and meeting you in person or they're buying your product from a store, they know your baseline of practices. And I like to look at organic as a baseline, as a form of what we want people to be following and how we think the farming system should work. And then our farmers to thrive further than that and have more environmental, health, etc. programs to improve their processes. So in terms of the growing demand for organic food sales have increased by an average of 8% per year for the past decade. Nearly 40% of organic farms are planning to increase food production, and consumers increasingly care about health, environmental benefits, and sustainability. Here on Long Island, I deal mostly with smaller farms starting up. And I will say a big entrance into their markets is having the organic certification to start conversations with their consumers, and really to get your name out there a lot more. And then as you get larger, when people have less ability to come directly to your farm, if you're shipping further, it provides more of a security that people understand your practices without coming and walking around your field. So in terms of building trust with consumers, the certified organic label is easily recognizable, increases visibility, and builds trust in your production. On the bottom right here, I put the 2 organic labels that NOFA-New York allows their producers. So we have our own NOFA-New York certified organic label, which verifies that any farm with that label has been certified organic by our certification staff and follows NOFA-New York's specific organic practices. And all of those farms are also able to use the USDA organic label as well. It's really just a matter of choice and which one you prefer as you go to the markets or to sell. And then organic certification sets you apart from your conventional competitors. Again, it's just another form of transparency behind your practices so that people understand what you are doing on your farm. So what are the marketing advantages to organic? Organic provides you a chance to have premium pricing. Consumers are willing to pay more for verified organic foods. And then market access. In terms of farmer market, in general, it's a lot easier to get into some farmers markets, at least by me. If you're certified organic, markets want at least one organic farm in there. Wholesale, going on a shelf, if you have that label, it's easily recognizable by consumers. Restaurants, to highlight that they're buying organic food that is healthy and ideally local if you're selling it to restaurants around you. And then specialty stores are typically looking for organic as well. Also, one of the big benefits I find being certified as I go to markets and farmers markets is your customers generally have an understanding of what the regulations or the baseline understanding of organic, and then it opens the door for much deeper conversation about the value of certifying. So you have someone coming to your market that has a level of education behind your practices, and then you can delve deeper and provide a deeper understanding about what you are doing, which I think is the real goal of at least my farming system, is that transparency, getting people to understand, and just spreading knowledge about the food system in general. In terms of environmental benefits, this is a list of a bunch of them, but there are many more. It reduces chemical exposures. We have a specific list of what chemicals are allowed on our fields. They're reviewed by the NOP, updated. Everything is available, so you know if you search certain chemicals, you can figure out what is allowed and what is not allowed. There's not really much gray area in understanding that. Improves your soil health, increased biodiversity. Our farmers are required to show their crop plan, show their crop rotation, which encourages increased biodiversity and soil growth without just taking from the same soil each year with the same like heavy feeders. Reduce energy consumption, water conservation, carbon sequestration, lower energy input, and less balloons. In the terms of environmental benefits, I truly try and look at organic as investing into your future. So you're taking the time to build up your soil and your environment. Takes time. You're not going to see that immediate return, but over years, you're improving, able to put in less inputs into your land, ideally, and build up and get that return over a period. And so in terms of getting certified, what's involved? In general, when we talk about certification, it always seems really overwhelming and in-depth. But when I look at certification, it's just a matter of best practices. So in terms of certification, you need to have pretty stringent record keeping, which allows you to track from seed to transplant to harvest to sale of each crop that you're planting. And when I look back at record keeping, it allows you to look at each crop you grew and really break down the number to see what is valuable, what the outcomes were, and figure out how to plan properly for next year. So even if you weren't certifying organic, I think that record keeping is so important to make your farm viable in having really stringent understanding of the value of each crop and process. And obviously there's always that give and take, but at the end of the season, after you've been farming for 6 months, sometimes it's hard to look back at your snap peas that you planted in April or May and really look at the value of them. But if you have the proper records, it's easy to show the time and effort you put into that and what you got out of that input. Inspections, once a year, you have an inspector come to your farm, go over your crop plan, walk your fields with you, and really just check on all of your practices to make sure that what you're submitting for your certification is what you are doing on your fields. I find this a great, a great chance to also ask questions about your practices if you're trying to do something new the next year, and just do some like down the road planning to understand. And then audits are our NOFA New York certification is audited by the USDA. So we have to look through our records to verify that if you're selling, tomatoes, that you're selling an amount of tomatoes that is comparable to what you're growing in your field. So that's through looking at your crop records and being able to show that it is reliable, that what you're growing is currently what is happening in the field, and there isn't any miskeeping of records or anything in that process. So it just helps keep everything reliable and transparent as you go through the system. So getting certified, how does it work? Typically, doing a initial farm assessment, you want to look at your practices, go through the certification paperwork a little bit and get familiar. First time you look at it, it's always really, really overwhelming. But then when you just take your time, I like to print it out and you just go through section by section. I cross out whatever doesn't pertain to me, which is probably 50% of what's there, and then just start chipping away at the other sections. So making it more tangible for yourself, seeing if you've used pesticides, fertilizers that you need a 3-year transition period or not. And we're here at NOFA to help you with this process. So we have our office hours on Tuesdays. You can come in on a Zoom call with us. We can talk through the process, see what the quickest way to go through certification or transition period looks like, and kind of make it as simple as we can so it's not really overwhelming. Documentation and record keeping. I like to really try and get these squared away at the beginning of the season. So as you go into the season, it's easy. You have everything prepared on how you're going to take care of your record keeping. And the record keeping is really up to you. We have sets of forms that we recommend using, but anyone can use whatever forms make the most sense to their farm. We have some farms that still use a notebook and a pen and write down all their stuff. And as long as when certification happens, they have that notebook and we can go through and trace everything properly, that works great. Then we have other farms that use Google Docs. It's really easy, just have everything there. You can share it with us at the beginning of the season. We can verify if it has all the components you need to make sure that it's okay, and go that way. And then the inspection and certification process. So you submit your application. Typically you wait 8 to 12 weeks for certification to review your application. They call you with some questions, go over some things that are on there. There's always an adjustment. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. We're just working to get it fixed. Then your inspector comes out, goes through everything with you, does a whole run through of your farm, your practices, kind of goes through what the tracing from harvest to seed looks like and everything, and then submits their final report to certification, and you hear back with your processes or if you have to change anything at all. So in general, it seems really overwhelming, but when you actually go through the process, it's not super intense. I like to just break it down section by section. And we're here to help you through all those steps and work through it so it's not as much of a beast. And then if you're considering organic certification, there are tons of resources out there. Currently, right now, we have the Transition to Organic Partnership Program, which is a program that I had. We have helped people that are in the transition program. You can fill out a transitional organic systems plan, or it's called a TPP, which is a transitional producer plan, where you verify that you're in the transition to organic. You do an OSP, which is your organic system plan, fill it all out, and then you submit it, and a certifier will go through it and send you comments so that when you do your official application, like you've gone through that process and you know what works and doesn't and what you have to change a little bit. So that's a really helpful resource. We also have a mentorship program, which I think is probably the most beneficial part of this grant, where it's a year-long mentorship. We match a mentee farmer with a mentor farmer that has similar scope or experience. We mostly try and find farms that are in a proximity of about half hour to an hour. Sometimes if there are different circumstances, it might be a little bit further away if everyone's comfortable with, speaking over Zoom or phone calls and whatnot. And it's a year-long mentorship, required 40 to 50 hours of communication, which again, it's not to put something else on everyone's plate, it's to make it as simple as we can. So I really let the mentorship pairs set up how their communication is going to be. I check in with everyone about a month. Some farms, they know that they have a lot of downtime in the winter, so they heavy load it, do all their 40 hours in the winter and get their certification paperwork all done. Other farms, want to do check in every 3 weeks and just discuss their processes to make sure their practices are fit to what will work in their organic certification when they apply at the end of the season or the next year. So it's really up to the agreement that you come up with your mentor. And with that also, you're not required to certify at the end of the year. Farms can do 2 years of mentorship max. And it's really just to get more information and push people towards that as much as we can. And then it allows us to do more educational events similar to this webinar we're doing now, where we just try and share as much information about organic, make it a little more simple for everyone. We host more field days. We host about 15 to 20 field days a year throughout the state. We have a Long Island educator, Hudson Valley, Northern New York, and a Central New York educator. So we're trying to spread our reach to really cover more of the state and cover more communities that haven't really had as much access to organic as they have in the past or have never had. So that's most of what TOP is doing. On top of that, we added in 3 Farm Fest events, which are more consumer focused, trying to spread more information to the consumer base to understand the value of organic and build up our demand for organic that way as well. Last year was our first year doing that, where we had a Long Island Farm Fest focused on an organic vineyard on Long Island. We had a Finger Lakes Farm Fest, which was at Cider House upstate that does organic apples. And then we had a Hudson Valley Farm Fest focused on season extension. They grew with a lot of tunnels and whatnot. And there are about 6-hour events where we had a lot of consumers come in. We did a talk about the value of organic and then did a tour that was more focused towards consumers to understand why to support organic farms. On top of that, we have our NOFA-New York Farmer Helpline, which you can call at any time and you'll reach an educator. If we don't have the answer, we have very easy access to certification, so we can get in contact with them very quickly and get back to you. And we're happy to go through any situation that you're concerned with. We can set up a Zoom call if it's more in depth and kind of go through the processes, whatever works, field days, educational events, which we mentioned. And then we also have our Zoom calls every Tuesday, which I had mentioned, which is every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. It's just open Zoom hours where people can come on and just discuss topics that may pertain to their farm or anything organic. Again, just trying to share as much information as we can. Other resources are USDA organic training and transitional assistance. There's an NLP handbook, free certification lessons, and an organic educational toolkit, which is really helpful just to make the process a little more easy if you're just trying to start delving into it and understand. And then there's also USDA NRCS service, which has handbooks, webinars, and typically some funding that is available to organic farms around. So yeah, we will share these slides at the end, but any of these resources are really, really helpful. So yeah, so that's what I have in terms of certifying organic. My email is up on here. I'll share it after as well. Here's our farmer helpline. And yeah, so now I'm gonna hop over to Melissa, who's gonna talk about the Real Organic Project, and then at the end we'll do questions with everyone. Thanks.
Cool, thanks, Teddy. I'm gonna try and share my screen. So hopefully you can all see that and hear me okay. Great. So as I said, I am the Northeast Regional Organizer at the Real Organic Project. And today I wanted to shed some light on the strengths and weaknesses of organic, the process and benefits of Real Organic, as well as the power of our partnerships with certifiers like NOFA New York. The Real Organic Project is a soil-grown, farmer-led add-on label that distinguishes farms that are growing to the high standard that organic was intended. ROP farms grow produce in the soil, uphold the humane treatment of livestock, and fair labor protections. So there are many strengths of organic. Some of them are listed here. There are clearly defined standards, high label recognition in the marketplace. As Teddy was saying, it demands a premium price in the marketplace. There are strong regulatory processes and enforcement, and a strong and ever-growing market presence. There's an emphasis on improving biodiversity, and it has a long history and a lot of consumer trust. So we're trying to build the Real Organic Project movement based on this foundation of a hard-fought and well-recognized certification, which ROP is striving to protect. And as Mark Squire puts it so well, most people, especially young people, don't realize how much effort went into making organic what it is. There are some weaknesses to organic, and as a farmer who built an organic farm and became certified organic, only to discover that some of the standards weren't being enforced by some of the certifiers, I was really thrilled to see that the Real Organic Project was a movement that represented me and my concerns whilst distinguishing our farming methods and recognizing our produce as truly organic. Some of the weaknesses include the fact that the standards kind of create a baseline, and they're not really constantly improving. So you kind of, as Teddy mentioned, it's kind of a starting off point, but there hasn't been a raising of the bar or an encouragement for innovation or to reward an improvement in growing practices. There's been reported fraud, and the standards have been weakened in some instances by corporate interests. And generally, by some certifiers, there's a lack of enforcement of clearly defined standards. An example of this is the allowance of hydroponic by some certifiers. So the US is the only country that allows hydroponic to be certified organic, and the vast majority of berries in our supermarkets are grown hydroponically now, with the number and scale of these operations exploding. And growing hydroponically is clearly prohibited in the NOP standards, and there's been no successful motion to update those standards with hydroponic allowances. So as customers learn that they're paying a higher price for produce that isn't necessarily being grown at the high level that they thought, the trust in the USDA organic certification can be eroded. As Teddy mentioned, the certification process can seem intimidating and cumbersome at times, and a lot of conversations I have with farmers revolve around this obstacle of record keeping being intimidating and the cost increasing, which I definitely understand as a farmer. A lot of my kind of feedback to this is that myself at my farm, we're not certified necessarily just for the premium that the organic produce can get in the marketplace, but because we believe that the organic certification is important and that the movement is worth supporting and protecting, and that as farmers we have a big role to play in that. Because some farmers decide not to be certified, we are still farming to the spirit and standard of organic. We can't necessarily include those farmers in our movement, though we do have lots of resources available to farmers, whether they're certified or not, including our podcast, our weekly newsletter, and events. But the more farms that we can certify, the more power and relevance we will have. So in essence, it feels in some respects that the USDA organic certification has stalled, and instead of the ceiling of organic being pushed higher, it's being eroded in some instances. I think Jack Hayden at Featherstone Farm put it really nicely. He said, "At Featherstone Farm, we believe that the standards of organic production should be sky high and aspirational. They should drive us to reach higher and do better with our crops and livestock, with our soils and our farm ecosystems. Lowest common denominator standards serve industry more than integrity, profit more than people, and real organic certification reflects who we are at Featherstone Farm, always has, always will." I wanted to show that there are about 18,000 certified organic farms. You can confirm whether that's correct, Teddy. And that makes up for about 1% of total farmland in the US, with about 3% of organic farm sales reflected in the marketplace. The number of farms in the US had decreased since 2017 by about 7%. The 2022 census shows that there are over 2,000 farms that are transitioning to organic. So while the number of farms has decreased in the US, more farms are starting to follow those organic standards. And to follow that with the map of certified real organic project farms, we have been growing since 2018 and we're at about 1,000 farms throughout the US. You can see the clusters in the Northeast and on the West Coast, but we have 4 inspectors throughout the US inspecting farms each year. And all of these farms are farming to the standard that organic was originally intended. So food grown in soil, no hydroponics, livestock raised on pasture with no confinement operations. And I wanted to include another quote from one of our star farmers, Asher Wright from Caney Fork Farms, said, "We are proud members of the Real Organic Project because we believe organic farming should be rooted in healthy, living soil. Our commitment to soil-based agriculture allows us to share that story with our customers while contributing to a larger movement that recognizes living soils as the foundation for a healthier planet and people." I think it's really important to highlight how much we have in common with the organic movement at large. So USDA organic and pretty much all of the certifiers, as well as the Real Organic Project, all work to improve soil, improve biodiversity, water conservation, cover crops, animal welfare, reduce chemicals, and build climate resilience. And though the USDA organic certification has a strong emphasis on on chemical agriculture, I was reminded whilst listening to a podcast, the most recent of the Real Organic podcasts with Dave Chapman, when he interviewed Tina Owens from the Nutrient Density Alliance. And she reminded me that USDA Organic prohibits the use of 300 chemicals in plant production, 500 chemicals in animal production, and 900 plus pesticides, insecticides, and fungicides. And so the foundation of organic farming really is a healthy, biologically active soil. Tina Owens also reminded me that soil health and nutrient density are linked. So the Real Organic Project has higher standards that are kind of set apart by our fair labour standards, our whole farm standard, the fact that we only certify soil-grown operations, and that we are farmer-led. So we're a farmer-led movement that's committed to shared real organic principles, and this is the heart and soul of organic. Without the farmers who are keeping the spirit of organic alive, organic is just a marketing tool susceptible to exploitation and greenwashing, devoid of any depth or greater purpose. And I think another one of the real organic farmers, Corinne Hanch, who is also, who was also the NOFA New York Farmer of the Year and is a top mentor, said it really nicely. She said, "I've chosen to get my Real Organic certification because of my strong belief in organic integrity. I want my customers to know that we go above and beyond in both our organic growing practices and creating a safe, living wage workplace for our employees. I also gain so much inspiration being in the Real Organic community, connecting with real organic farmers and doing education and advocacy work on real organic issues." So to go into a bit more detail about our standards, we ensure that crops are grown in healthy living soil. So all plant production must be soil-based, in which plant roots grow in healthy living soil in connection with subsoil and bedrock. All forms of hydroponic production, which is a generic class of soilless production where plants are grown in inert media and receive nutrients from a solution, is prohibited. We allow 1% of total sales being container grown, and this doesn't include mushrooms or annual and perennial seedlings. With regards to soil management, it must maintain or improve soil organic matter content and must select and implement stewardship practices that maintain or improve the physical, chemical, and biological condition of soil and minimize soil erosion. So during our inspections, we go through a soil ecosystem rubric where we go into detail about cover cropping, about the operations use of rotation and compost, on-farm fertility, on-farm biodiversity, and pest and disease management. Animals must be raised on well-managed pasture. So all individual animals must have daily, year-round access to the outdoors, where the outdoors constitutes at least 50% of vegetated cover during the growing season. Ruminants must receive a minimum of 40% of their dry matter intake from pasture during the growing season, with a written plan to increase that to 50%. And with regards to animal welfare, we confirm during our inspections that farmers are not engaging in a list of prohibited practices as it applies to physical modification of their animals. Also have standards around how young animals are housed. There are spacing requirements for all animals, including indoor and outdoor areas. And if the farm is split with livestock being raised on non-certified, our standards are that the livestock are not held in systemic confinement. With our labour protections for farm workers, these standards are to ensure that ROP certified farms are providing labour protections provided by law. Our standards board collaborated with the Agricultural Justice Project to create standards that help to ensure a better working environment for farm labour. These standards include documents, hiring practices, pay, and housing, and each farm inspection includes a confidential interview with employees to verify information given by the farmers. Our labour standards are ever evolving in partnership with University of Wisconsin-Madison's Ag Extension and Fair Share CSA, who are trialling higher standards with a focus group of farms, the finding of which will be included in the Standards Board annual revision of our standards. The Real Organic Project is a whole farm certification program, which means that all aspects of commercial production are reviewed and inspected, and no substances or practices prohibited by the NOP are allowed. Split farms are farms that produce in multiple categories, with some categories having an organic certification and others, for various reasons, not being certified organic. To be ROP certified, the split operation can't have any hydroponic production or any CAFO production, and non-certified production can't be more than 49% of the total revenue. We don't allow for simultaneous parallel production of certified and non-certified crops. So hydroponic and CAFO production are barred from all Real Organic project certification. So the process is pretty straightforward. It is no cost to our farmers. We understand that, as Teddy explained, the process of becoming certified is an involved process. So we want to make the ROP certification as straightforward for farmers as possible. To reiterate, it is an add-on label, so the farm operation has to be certified organic. Though if you're applying for your organic certification, you can also apply for the ROP certification and have that inspection done in the same year, though the certification would only be generated once the USDA organic certification had been. The steps to certification are the online application, which takes about 20 minutes. Then you will receive a farm inspection within that season. That should take 1 to 2 hours, and no paperwork is needed. It is generally a very enjoyable tour of the farm where all the commercial aspects of the operation are shown, and there is as I said, interview with the farm crew, which is done independently from the farm manager. You'll need to reapply for certification each year, and that application form will be pre-filled with all of your information from previous years, so it should really take less than 20 minutes, and the deadline for that is coming up in a couple of weeks on April 15th, and you'll be re-inspected every 5 years. These certifiers have signed the soil pledge to keep soil in organic, and they represent about 8,000 certified operations, which is at about 44% of the total certified operations in the US. These certifiers are upholding the organic standards because of the appreciation of the importance of soil and organic. the fact that it's the very foundation of the certification, and ROP in partnership with these certifiers are fighting to protect and grow the organic movement. Real Organic wants to rebuild the integrity in the organic standard, and with these certifiers, we are stronger together. By uniting the organic movement as a whole and integrating the higher standards into the USDA across the board, we can grow the movement together. And the more farms that are certified organic, the more farms that can be certified real organic, the more the logos are used and recognized in the marketplace as a higher quality and nutrient density of produce and higher standards of the treatment of people, animals, and the environment, the more power we have to push back the almighty corporate interests who are exploiting the certification and eroding our way of farming. We are also partnering with many of these certifiers, including MAFGA, VOF, NOFA New York, OneCert, and OFA, so that farms who have them as their certifiers will only need one inspection with their organic certifier for their real organic project and USDA certification, saving them time, saving the certifiers money and resources, and hopefully allowing our inspectors to inspect more farms, more new farms. So that's to highlight that our alignment is much greater and more potent than our differences, and the more that we can come together with open minds and open discussion, the more opportunity there is for transformation. I think John and Bailey from Lakeview Hill Farm and Market put it pretty beautifully. They say we're proud to be certified through the Real Organic Project in addition to our National Organic Program certification. We support the Real Organic Project, its mission and its dedication to upholding the true foundation of organic farming. For us, organic isn't just a label, it's a way of farming that prioritizes health, biodiversity, and sustainability. We believe our farm reflects the real meaning of organic, staying true to the principles that first inspired this movement. Healthy soil grows vibrant plants, nourishes our community, and sustains our farm for generations to come. So the applications are open now. Please, there's a wealth of information and resources on our website, and you can also reach out to me directly. That's my email address with any information, for any more information about the application process or about Real Organic Project. So thanks so much, and I think we are going to open it up to questions. Are there any questions in the chat? I haven't been keeping tabs.
No, I didn't see any questions for you there, Melissa. I did wonder though, I didn't realize that the ROP certification was free to farmers. Are you grant funded, or how do you manage to keep it free for farmers?
We are primarily donor funded. Dave Chapman and Linley Dixon are our co-founders and help to keep Real Organic Project funded through small donors and large donors. We also host events, and that reminds me, I wanted to talk about the Churchtown Symposium that we host every September. So that's going to be coming up with announcements about dates and content, and we sell tickets to that as well.
All right. Cheryl did just put a question in the chat about the Real Organic application. She says, I won't get my organic certification for a while. Is there a time frame limit from when I get my certification to when I get yours? And is there a window that your application is open?
No, there's no limit. You can apply for Real Organic Project certification. If you're not getting it this year, then you can apply whenever you're ready, and you can apply within that same year, we do, similar to USDA, have a deadline. So our deadline's coming up at April 15th. We can make allowances for special circumstances, though we try to get all the applications in so that we can organize our schedule for inspections throughout the summer. It reopens, I believe, in December or the beginning of January. But if you reach out to me and you wanted to get your application in halfway through the season, say, then depending on how we've scheduled our inspections, we might be able to squeeze you into a group of farms that are already scheduled. So don't let the fact that the application is closed deter you from reaching out to see if we could do that. Yeah, no worries.
Melissa, how long have you been certified organic, and did you go into having real organic certification right away, or did you add that on later?
We were certified organic in 2020 and real organic in 21. So not quite straight away. And I wasn't all that aware of the Real Organic Project until I started learning more, and kind of was happy to see that there were people working and advocating on behalf of organic farmers, and wanted to join and support that movement.
Awesome. Is there like a listserv or communication between real organic farms in the region?
We have a newsletter that goes out every Sunday, but we don't have a listserv as of yet. We have a outreach grant at the moment where farmers can apply to have their outreach funded, whether it's a on-farm event or going to a conference or writing an article or going on a podcast. And that has shown us, as well as kind of the interviews that we have on the farm, this desire for more connectivity and networking between farms. So we've got an emphasis on those kind of in-person events coming up. But I think a listserv would also be a really wonderful idea. I know I lean on the Hudson Valley Young Farmers Coalition listserv a lot for advice and resources and whatnot.
Yeah, I use listservs like nonstop to search
Yeah.
everything. They're so useful.
We also have a chat box, so if anybody's on our application page and is having issues, then there's someone available to answer any questions in working hours. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks for doing that, Samantha. Yeah. Our website's realorganicproject.org.
Perfect. Well, I think that will about do it. Melissa, thank you so much for sharing the information about Real Organic. It's really like so important to highlight how interconnected they are and how they work together, and to like build more resilience and transparency in our farm system. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a wonderful opportunity to be here, and I hope that seeing these relationships kind of budding between the certifiers and the Real Organic Project, we all are trying to improve the integrity of organic and protect it from corporate interests. So it's just so wonderful to work together to that end.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everyone who came to listen today.
Great.
I'm gonna